Thank you, gentlemen and guns. Coming.
Hey guys, Trip Flip tonight on Travel Channel. It's a new episode. It's an hour-long special. It's Vietnam, and I promise you with all my heart, you will absolutely love it. It is inarguably our opus. It's one of the best ones we've ever done. Usually that's how it works. When they're hour specials, that means the network likes it so much they want to make it longer. This is fantastic. We do something in this that I've talked about this before on this podcast and in these intros, but we do something tonight that is buzzworthy. It is one of the coolest things, and I heard about it from a friend of mine, and this is the beauty of this show. I heard about it from a friend of mine. He said when he did it, they pulled a cockroach out of his ear, and so I said, I got to do that. So we go get our ears cleaned with these surgical tools on the street during rush hour. It's fucking amazing. So go watch it. Trip Flip on Travel Channel tonight. As always, go to my just find me. Go be curious about me today. Take a day to spend the time. I put out, there's so much content I have out there. You should go check some of it out. Go to my YouTube channel. Go to my website. Check out my tour dates. Subscribe to this podcast if you haven't already. You know what? Rate, review this podcast. This is all free content. Only thing I charge for are t-shirts, my book, and my stand-up. That's it. Because we have great sponsors like Safa Mattresses. Safa Mattresses, it was a hookup. Honestly, it's not the traditional type of sponsor you'd get, because what happened is fellow fat friend Tom Segura got a hold of this mattress and he liked it. And he liked it so much he said he wanted to talk about it on their podcast. And they basically said, you know what? If that's the deal, then let me give some of your friends, see if they like it, see if they'll talk about it. And that was the deal. And we all fucking love these mattresses. Everyone loves these goddamn mattresses. And I do believe sleep is where you should invest your money. I am dead serious when I say that. If I have a shitty night's sleep, I feel like a dead man the whole next day. Who cares how nice my car looks? Spend $50,000 on a car? Not really. My wife would never let me spend. I don't even know how much we spent on our car. Well, I know we're trying to buy a second car and we're having a hard time. We're fighting about it. But we don't fight about buying a mattress. We bought this really, really expensive one because that's the way I like to work. Really expensive. But what I didn't realize is that you're paying for all the overhead that it takes to get the mattress to the store, to get the mattress from all the bullshit, the guy who needs the parking spot. You're paying for the coffee that everyone that sells mattresses drinks. This is an online entity. So when you buy this mattress, you're paying for no overhead. It is basically quality worth exactly the same price point you'd pay for a $2,000 mattress. You're spending $800. You're just getting the goods. They got this spinal honeycomb system. Look, I don't sell mattresses. I'm just telling you what I like. And if you like it, go to smarterbed.com. Smarterbed.com. I'm almost certain it's smarterbed.com. I could swear to you on my children it's smarterbed.com. If it's smarterbeds, I'm going to be so pissed off. It's smarterbed.com. And when you purchase your mattress, at the very end, how did you hear about us? Click podcast. That way they know that you guys are listening and we're reaching out to you and that we appreciate their mattress. We appreciate Safa Mattresses. You could SAATVA is the name of the mattress company. But to make it easier, just go to smarterbed.com. Look, I want to read something they told me to read. See if it makes sense to you. Oh, by the way, okay, these are some talking points I said. They don't just drop it off on your doorstep and leave you to deal with it. They deliver it and install it and then take away your old mattresses. It's a luxury product that can be folded into a box. More like you'd be sleeping on at the Four Seasons. They say that if you sleep on this bed, you'll live guaranteed 15 years longer. That can't be right. Oh, no, I'm kidding. I just made that one up. And here's the best part. They give you a risk-free 75 in-home trial. 75-day in-home trial. So if you don't like it in 75 days, fucking call them up. They'll pick it up and they'll bring you back your old. They're not going to bring you back your old mattress. I think you're in. Look, it's interesting that we talk about this because I had a conversation with the guy that we talked to today. Everyone's been asking where this podcast is. Everyone has been asking where this podcast is. Because I taped it, and then I did one with his co-host, and I released his co-host the very next day because I had the video, and I've been holding on to it because I kind of enjoyed the attention I was getting from his fans. Why does he have fans? He is the co-host of Faction Radio with Jason Ellis Radio. It's the Faction channel on SiriusXM. Sometimes I think SiriusXM has their heads up their fucking asses, to be dead honest with you. As a subscriber for 16 years, I've been a subscriber as long as XM's been around and Sirius. And sometimes I go, why can't you just make it easy for me to find my shows? That's why I got the app. Check out the app. It's really great. It's on your phone. You go through data pretty quickly, but it's not that bad. And that's where I listen to the show. He is a best-selling author because he co-authored both of Jason Ellis's books. He is smart as shit. He's an ex-musician. He's fascinating. He's a really interesting guy. At the end of this podcast, we do an analogy battle, and he wins. I shouldn't tell you that he wins, but he wins. He's could very easily do stand-up comedy tomorrow if he chose to. He is genuinely a Renaissance man and one of the more interesting people I've ever talked to. His path in life is fascinating. Ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together unless you're driving. Don't put your hands together. Keep them at 10 and 2 or whatever Bill Burr says to put them at. My friend, Michael Tully.
This is
But yeah, that's the way my brain thinks. Cause you know what it is? I'll tell you what. I'll be dead fucking honest with you. I'm going to therapy for the first time.
Okay.
And obviously I watched the Kurt Cobain thing, and I have an issue with false with performers creating idolatry. Does that make sense?
Performers creating idolatry. What does that mean to you?
Like Kurt Cobain writes amazing fucking first album. By the way, I'm talking to Mike Tully. We are sitting in the Mancave. We're talking about Montage of Heck, which I brought up on the walk-in, and you were like, interesting, because I don't think you sound like you weren't totally into Nirvana growing up.
I've always been a contrarian. I don't know if I understand that word correctly. I'm pretty sure that just means you're a dick. So
you're a cynic. You're a heartfelt cynic. And I know that from the first time I met you. You're a heartfelt cynic.
Yeah. I think what I've finally learned about myself, because there's so many big movies that I never saw. I never seen like Top Gun and shit like that. And and that's the tip of the iceberg, Bert. I didn't feel like I was trying to avoid those movies. I just feel like I've come to realize that I need to find something for myself to like it. If I find some little band for myself, I'll convince myself they're the greatest band in the world. If Rolling Stone says so-and-so is the future of rock and roll, I'm trying to listen with an open mind, but I go, fuck this. This is bullshit. I've heard this all before. So I would say I'm not like a Bleach era Nirvana fan, but I would say I was listening to Nirvana a couple months before a lot of other people were. And as soon as it got that big, I was like, meh.
I'm the exact same way. I'm the exact same way with...
And I was out by In Utero.
Okay, really?
And I was listening to a bunch of fey, shitty English bands. Yeah. Because they were the furthest thing from what everybody in my high school liked.
I'm that same way. We saw Dave Matthews at the Cow House. I think it's called the Cow House or the Milk Bar in Tallahassee in 90, probably... It's before I went to Russia, so 94. In 94. Maybe 93 even, and he was amazing. I mean, I was blown away, and everyone got his album at his show, and we all played it. And then when he got popular success, I was like, I cannot stomach this. And the girl I was dating, who ended up cheating with, sleeping with my best friend, she loved it, and that was like her jam. And then she cheated on me when I got back from Russia.
Well, at least you're over it now.
Dude, I am dying to run into her. I swear to God, she's an actress in New York. I'm dying to run into her one day and just be the shallow piece of shit I am in my heart. You know, like just be like, oh, hey, are you still trying to act? Because you told me I'd never be a comedian. And oh, my God, what time is it? Oh, I'm sorry. What's that? Like, just a fucking asshole. Because it did really burn me. I hope she's happy, in all honesty. But, like, you know, there's some little part of...
You hope she's not a leper or anything.
I hope she's still hot, to be honest with you. I don't know why. I hope she's still hot. And I run into her, and I look disgusting compared to what she dated. Like, she'd be like, oh... God, thank God I dropped out when the stock was at the highest. So, but I feel the way you felt is that Dave Matthews epitomized for me mediocrity. It epitomized, you know, Kurt Cobain said in this interview, they said, now you guys are the it band. And he goes, everyone just wants to be hip. Like, he's like, almost like they don't like our music. They just like the fact that everyone's playing us. And it was fascinating to me because that's how I feel. And I felt that way with comics. Like comics that I thought were brilliant. Then they get mainstream success, and all of a sudden I'm like, you know?
Now I know there's this weird code of omerta in the comedy world, which I'm
dumber than you are. What's omerta?
What? God, it's my brain isn't fully awake yet. Omerta's the mafia thing of we don't talk.
Yeah.
So I'm not a stand-up comedian, so I can like freely express my opinion
Big
about
misstep
comedians.
in your life, by the way.
What's that?
But you're not ever getting on stage and doing stand-up.
It's not too late.
It's not too late, and I would definitely do it if I were you. You're one of the funnier. I was thinking this on the treadmill. I will simply call you Third Mike only because you have this ability to not step on the conversation, not redirect it unless it's necessary, and you consistently say the thing that is 10 times funnier than anyone said in the room, and you don't try it 100 times. You know your punches. Like when you said the fucking we were on there and we were talking about putting fingers in girls' asses.
You're talking about my regular job, which is
on the Jason Ellis Show. Yeah,
on Sirius XM. Yeah,
Sirius. I did. I don't know where I put them. They're probably in the bathroom.
I know Bert is cleansing, but if you would like a donut, I brought some donuts.
She's on a cleanse too because the big man's on a cleanse.
Oh man, should I just take those back out with me?
No, my daughters will fucking murder them.
I figured that. I have a child as well.
But that, and I was saying like it's an insult to say Third Mike because there's only 2 people on your show. But
I don't even know what I've only just recently, like 2 weeks ago, and I've been doing radio for almost 10 years. Heard the concept of first mic, second mic, third mic.
Jim Norton is the quintessential Third Mike.
Okay.
Jim Norton is one of the funniest comics working, and he would sit back in that show, and when he spoke, you knew it was going to be gold.
Okay, we are going to talk analogies today. Yeah. I have here's the analogy for what I do. Are you a sports guy at all?
Yes.
I get to just stand in the corner and shoot threes.
Yeah.
Jason creates the
You're
offense.
Steve Alford.
Yeah. I'm Steve Kerr. I'm any number of
Steph Curry.
Yeah. Well, no, because
he's kind of leading the team as he is the MVP.
Well, I would like to think I can create my shot from time to time.
Yeah.
But somebody else gets in the lane and disrupts the defense, and especially when there's a guest on and there's more voices, and I get to just sit there and go, I am standing here and I'm ready, and all you do is put the ball in my hands, and all I need to do is sink that shot.
Yeah.
So it looks harder than it is when you only have to make a joke every couple minutes.
Yeah, but you do it well.
Thank you.
That was my perception, is that you seem to take on your position with the kind of thing where the coach would have been like, we need to get him the ball more. Like, like that's why I say you should try stand-up. You should definitely try stand-up because
it's funny. I have actually been thinking about it for the first time.
You should definitely try stand-up. And I wouldn't do, this is me, I've been doing it for 15 years. I wouldn't start off in like a big show with a bunch of fans. I'd do some regular like improv, like no one knows you, and really find your voice and who you're comfortable with.
Yeah.
And then honestly, you could go on tour pretty quickly.
Well, let's talk about this afterwards. I don't know how interesting this is to other people. I feel like I have a 3-year-old kid, and I feel like the window where I feel like I'd be swimming upstream at this point.
No, not at all.
Really?
Not at all. I have 2 kids. I started touring 100% of the year when my daughter was born.
Because had I done it when I was 25, that's what I should have been doing. Because I was I was doing everything that I think a 25-year-old comedian does other than comedy. I was a waiter, and I was an alcoholic.
And you were writing scripts?
Yeah, whatever. Yeah, exactly. I should have just been, instead of bullshitting 100% with Ukrainian chicks in the East Village, I should have occasionally been trying it out in front of a microphone.
Did you start in New York?
I'm from...
You're from New Jersey, right?
I'm from New Jersey. You have some Jersey ties as well.
No, Philly.
Okay, well, Jersey Shore.
Yeah, Jersey Shore. Yeah.
And grew up in Jersey, went to high school in New York City. I'm actually going back for my 20th high school.
You went to high school in the city?
Yeah, I used to take the bus and the subway to high school every day.
Wow, what was that like?
I mean, I don't know. I never did it any other way. Kind of, when you're young, you're not like afraid of dying or anything. So when you'd see like the guy who was like stained in his own feces that was like sort of like lazily waving a blade at people, thought you weren't afraid of that. You were like, wow, I'm really in New York City.
I feel like going to high school in New York City would have been like growing up in the suburbs of Fallujah.
I mean, once I had to go down into, like, the subway is one thing, but the neighborhood that my high school is in is the Upper East Side, which is like J.D. Salinger, New York, if that still means anything to you. I had high school in I had a phys ed in Central Park.
Oh, how badass is that?
So it was a lot more like, it almost had like a Dead Poet Society vibe where I went.
God, that's really cool.
It was cool. So that's why, like, it's crazy. I'm flying back for one day for my 20th high school reunion in 2 weeks, which I feel like I need to explain what a cool place it was that I went to high school to explain how lame it is that I'm willing to fly across the country just to go to my reunion.
So what was it like? Like, did you guys wear uniforms?
No uniforms. I think because kids used to get mugged on the subway, and they had to get rid of the uniforms. I went to high school in the 90s, so you're coming out of the tail end of New York in the 70s.
What year? Because I'm trying to think.
I graduated in 95.
Okay, I was about, so it's just started cleaning up then, I guess, right?
This is primetime Giuliani, Broken Windows, Bill Bratton, New York, yeah.
Okay.
Right.
Your parents sent you into New York because, I'm imagining, private school, good school?
Really good school, and... Your
dad's a dentist?
My dad was, like, management at AT&T.
Okay.
It was free. The high school was free.
Really?
All scholarship. Crazy place. Like when I say Dead Poets Society, or Rushmore. Rushmore is like my favorite movie because my high school is actually very Rushmore-esque. All boys.
Yeah.
And on Christmas morning, 1912, an anonymous benefactress gave the Jesuits like $4 million. The Jesuit priests.
I went to a Jesuit high school.
Okay, yeah. So gave the Jesuits like $4 million to build a free high school for Catholic boys in New York City, and they built this like beautiful place on. Yeah, and you had to pass a test and you had to pass an interview. And I mean, initially I thought I had no chance of getting in. I went to the open house because I just wanted to see what a school like that would look like. Yeah. And then they're like, well, take the test. And I was like, well, that sounds like fun. I took the test and I passed. And I was like, well, I'll still never. And they're like, well, do the interview. And by the time I had done the interview, now I'd been to this place 3 times. And I was like, I'm, with all due respect to suburban New Jersey, I'm not going back there ever again.
Yeah. So it's so interesting. I went to a Jesuit school. I was at a private school in grade school. And in 8th grade, we were at basketball practice, and Eric Knuppel and Brian Callahan were like, hey, we're going to go take a tour of this school. And I was like, and I really, honestly, I just said to my parents, like, when I got home, I was like, hey, Brian and Eric are doing a tour of this school. Should we go? My dad's like, yeah. I think it was cheaper, too. My dad's like, fuck yeah, let's go. So we took a tour, and my dad kept saying to me, buddy, this smells like where I went to high school. And for some reason, I do things that my dad does. I don't know why. I almost find myself doing them and then almost like nodding, like no one knows that my dad did that first, but now I'm redoing it.
Okay, what would be another example?
Like last night, we're playing, Georgia's at a softball game. My dad used to always say to me he was a coach, but he would say from the dugout, Bert, get a base hitter, you spend the night in the closet. And everyone would laugh. And I'd always go, he's not really putting me in the closet. Last night I said, George, get a base hitter, I put you in the closet. And everyone laughed. But no one knew that it's my dad's joke. But the fact that it smelled like his school, and I wanted that kind of like, I was nostalgic for boyhood, if that makes sense.
As a boy.
Like I'd gone to this predominantly Jewish grade school. And there was no like, the sports were really bad. And like I was on varsity baseball in like 8th grade. And like, and it just was like, and it was really like a nebbish school, like very scholarly. And I was nostalgic for testosterone, I think. I think I wanted something that was a little realer. And boy, I got it. First day of school, Spencer Ford punched Eric Knuppel in the face. And I was like, what the fuck did I sign up for? But yeah, same way as you. Did you enjoy the Jesuit process?
I love it.
Did you have like brothers teaching you?
Yeah, I mean, even then they were having trouble recruiting for the priesthood, so I don't think there were nearly as many priests there had been. We had honestly, the laity, for people, that's the people in the church who aren't priests, there were a lot of lay teachers that may as well have been priests. Like
Mr. Mercandante, but he'd wear the fucking outfit.
Well, and I mean, people who only recently retired after teaching at the school for 60 years. Just like human statues, human pillars of what this school represented. Yeah. So there was a lot of that. I had a rivalry with a guy. What are they? Jesuit scholastics is what they're called. Because
Jesuit scholastics?
You sign up to be a priest when you're like 18 or 20 or whatever, but they put you through the ringer, and you don't actually get to be a priest as a Jesuit till you're like 31 or maybe it's 33 when Jesus died. Or
did he wear the blue shirt with the collar? The light blue shirt with the collar?
He had options. I remember they would let them wear the collar, and you could tell that they were really proud of themselves the days that they wore the collar that they hadn't fully earned yet. But I remember this guy, he was really proud of his speaking voice, and it was relayed to me. It's a very, very long story, but somebody mentioned me to him when I wasn't in the room, and he said, Mike Tully is scum.
we had those guys too. I want to know about inappropriateness, because our teachers were semi-racist, massively sexist. I remember them standing up and going, let me explain to you how society works. You as white males are number 1.
Wow. No, I didn't get that. My school was not like that.
Black males, number 2. Corey Brown, that's you. Third is white women. I mean, like, literally broke it down.
Is that even true?
No, it's not true. It's probably in the financial earnings process, maybe. But they sat us down and told us that, you ready for this? Now, did you have this experience? You had religion class, right?
Of course, yeah.
Did they show you a 3rd trimester abortion?
No. My school was actually very liberal about religion, which is funny for a religious school. Now, was your school in the city?
In Tampa. Okay. In Tampa.
Oh, maybe is it a southern thing?
Southern, yeah.
Oh,
They showed us a 3rd trimester abortion where they break the body up inside and vacuum it out.
No. No, I think the lure of Manhattan and what it represents culturally to the world makes even religious people who live there be like, yeah, I'm into Jesus, but I'm not super hung up on it.
Now, did you have those, like, did you ever see the movie Heaven Help Us?
Heaven Help Us. Is that a Warren Beatty movie?
No. Oh, that is a Warren Beatty movie. God damn it, it's not Heaven Help Us.
We're No Saints?
No. What's the movie with Matt Dillon's brother, Kevin Dillon?
Nope. I've never seen Kevin Dillon in anything ever.
Are you serious?
Yes.
Dude,
I told you I've never seen anything.
God damn it.
I just watch like trauma movies, dude. And my wife is fully on board, so it's not like it's only narrowed my cultural focus. The other night we watched a Chevy Chase movie from 1981 where he develops kinetic powers after getting toxic waste dumped on him.
I think I saw that when it came out.
But that's like a Friday night at my house.
It's with Goldie Hawn?
No.
No, they're at the beach and he like gets up on the bed and he's like levitating. I think I saw that when it came out.
There may have been more than one Chevy Chase telekinesis comedy in the early 80s.
I'm going to find out the goddamn name of that movie.
Yeah, go for it.
It was such a great movie. Mm-hmm. Heaven Help Us.
Yeah, Heaven Help Us, right.
Yeah, Heaven Help Us.
I never saw it.
It was about an all-boys Catholic high school in the city in the 50s. And did you have like dances with the girls' school?
Yeah.
Really?
It was great because it was an all-boys school that I went to, and only boys from our school could go to the dances, but any girl could go. It was a pretty cool school.
So that's awesome. So you're excited to see the guys?
I am. I actually really am. Yeah. My experience at my 10th, and look, it's like just as soon as you count on anything in life, it's not what just as soon as you think you have it figured out. My 10th was like, because it was a small class, and I think because there weren't girls, we weren't very competitive. Sports wasn't a big deal at my school, and we didn't have girls, so I don't think we had ways of like socially ranking one another.
Yes.
Of course, you had an idea who was cool and wasn't, but there was no way of actually proving it with football or getting laid.
That's the beautiful thing about an all-boys Catholic high school is that there was no nerds.
Well, and also this is a school for bright kids, so I think even the cool jock kids were also kind of closet nerds.
Yeah.
So nobody was going to, unless you had to be really nerdy. You had to fully be like Dungeons and Dragons at lunch to be like a nerd in my school. So everybody, it was a small class. So if I graduate with 110 guys, I consider 70 of them friends. And at the 10-year reunion, it was the wildest social experience I've ever had in my life of, oh, you... How are you doing?
Yeah.
Okay, great. Oh, that's so funny. That's so awesome to see you. 45-degree turn. oh, you,
Yeah.
how are you doing? Just over and over 50 times. And of course, I've repeated that story so many times that there's absolutely no way that's going to happen on my 20th. Nobody's going to come, and the people who do are just going to be like doing
20th is better. 20th
doing
is
bumps
better.
in the bathroom.
Oh, that was our 20th anniversary. Our 20th anniversary was at the beach. My buddy Blake paid for all of it. Like, he footed the bill for everyone, for the whole thing. Because everyone chipped in money, and I mean, everyone's supposed to pay for it, but a bunch of people didn't, and my buddy Blake just covered the whole thing, and it was fucking awesome. It was like debauchery. Like, we stayed at a hotel on the beach in Clearwater for a whole weekend, and like no one brought, like, a couple people brought their kids, but like pretty much our kids were down the beach, and it was fucking chaos. I mean, like, everyone reverted back to, it was so funny. I remember everyone calling each other by their high school nicknames, and you haven't heard those. Hey, Frankenberry. Hey, the Rican's here. I'm like, guys, that's racist now. But
The Rican?
our school was
Puerto
very
Rican?
racist. It was like we had one Puerto Rican guy, we called him the Rican.
Sure.
We had one Indian guy, we called him Chief. We had one black guy, we called him Brother. We had one Jewish guy, we called him Shylock. Like, yeah. Like, I mean, they would...
Offensive and very, very clever to boot.
Oh, well, the teachers gave them that name. I remember when we read
Your high school has nothing in common with my high school.
The Merchant of Venice. Merchant of Venice. So let's just consider Andrew Wall Shylock, okay?
So this guy wants a pound of your flesh.
Yeah, just like Andrew. His people killed Jesus. Do you realize? I mean,
What would he even do with the flesh? It doesn't matter. The point
Andrew,
is...
what would you do with the flesh? And Andrew's like, why you put me in this?
The point is, he wants it, and he's got the contract, so he's gonna kill you.
Fucking someone trying to stab Andrew, like, after that class, I think, out by the chapel. Did you have that one Friday every year that you, like, every semester where you had just mass in the morning and then you got to go home?
I don't remember that one either.
There's no point in me trying to connect. Like, you just brought back, like, no one ever talks to me about all boys Catholic high school, and I feel like it's something that's lost.
I love it. I'd be very. You have daughters, right?
Yeah, 2 daughters.
There's a really expensive all boys Jesuit high school here in Los Angeles, and if I still Loyola,
yeah,
and if I still live in LA, and if my kid can be talked into going to an all boys Catholic high school, and if there's any way I could possibly afford it, 3 humongous ifs. You talk about replicating your dad's stuff. I'm so incredibly conscious of not trying to, like, force who I am and my experiences and likes and dislikes and its attitudes on my kid. But if there was ever one time I would take a shot at that would be the one. I love it. It's so I can tell you feel the same way without even saying it. It's a singularly formative experience.
It really is. It teaches you. It taught me how to be a stand-up comedian. No questions asked. It taught me how to tell a story. It taught me how to hold a room. It taught me how to fist fight. It taught me how to not to fist fight. Like, who not to fist fight with. Who to let shit go by. Like, I learned a lot. It was a little bit like a junior prison. Like, I learned a little bit of, you can tell, by the way, we're going to get into an analogy off, but like, and this is coming, everybody, but I speak in analogies. I feel like it's the easiest way for me to communicate a thought to people. Now, what time do you got to head out? Your show starts at noon?
Yeah. I got a little bit. I have another hour at least.
Okay, good.
I'm good.
So then you leave Jesuit, you go to Oxford.
Well, yeah. I did go to Oxford for a year. That is true, but it sounds...
In England?
Oxford, England. I've been very fortunate with my educational experiences, to say the very least, considering I tend to backdoor into them. Like, I was the last person that got into my high school off the waiting list 20 years ago.
Yeah. So
I really didn't actually belong there. And then I took a couple of years off because I thought I was in a band or something. And
what kind of music do you play?
The really fey English Britpop stuff that I referred to earlier. Still trying to keep that dream alive. I
was in a band in college, kicked out the lead guitarist. He formed a band called Creed. Keep going.
Really?
Yeah.
Tremonti?
Yep. And he won't talk to me. And he denies that it ever happened. I wrote about it in my book. Fuck him.
Like your ex, the important thing is it clearly doesn't bother you anymore. So yeah, a couple years wasting time. I went to Fordham, which is the Jesuit college in New York, and then I applied. I didn't have the grades to get into a study abroad thing in Oxford, so I just applied for like City College London or whatever, and I just wrote on top of my application, I would also like to go to Oxford. and then they give me a thing, hey, you got into the program, and I go, oh, that's cool, I'll go party in London for a year, and then like a couple weeks later I got a call from some like administrative secretary lady, and she's like, so I have your thing in front of me, I just do you want to go to City College London or do you want to go to Oxford? And I was like, I'll do Oxford. She's like, oh, okay, yeah, I wasn't sure about that. Okay, thanks, bye. And just like that, I spent a year at Oxford.
What was that like? Was it like the movie where Rob Lowe's rowing?
I did
Oxford Blues.
I had a bunch of friends who did the crew thing, and I don't know. I didn't participate in that. Oxford is, the way it looks, it's probably better than people even think. If you ever look up a photo of Oxford, it's Harry Potter, Lord of the Rings. I mean, Tolkien is like an Oxford guy. So that's not like a coincidence. So in terms of walking around the street, it's unbelievable. It's hard to describe. The experience is about 20% exactly what you would hope it would be, and about 80% being really, really bored drinking Australian beer.
Really?
Yeah.
No, are the classrooms as old as Tolkien?
Oh, way older.
So are you sitting in a place that, I mean, I always think smell defines things to me sometimes.
I understand.
But like, do you go in and you just smell like
my
your grandmother's grandmother?
Kinda, or a really, really old priest, right? Oxford is actually a collection of, I should know, like 30, 40, 50 different colleges. Mm-hmm. And so I went to a very specific one, which I don't know if there'd been a fire or, no. They were the Catholics, ultimately. They were Dominicans, and they'd been kicked out. They helped set up Oxford, but they got kicked out of Oxford when England became Protestant, when Henry VIII wanted to get divorced.
Yeah.
So they actually kind of set the thing up but got booted and only got reinstated around like 1900 or so. So my place was like old, but there were, every other school in town was like 1600s old, like crouched down to fit in the door old.
Did you have sex with anyone over there?
It was really, really hard. I'm trying to think. With American girls, probably, because if there were like 10,000 students at Oxford, about 1,000 of them were American exchange jackasses like myself. Yeah. So we were not a small novel minority.
Oh, so you couldn't use your you couldn't like Brooklyn up your accent.
No. And what's more, like every girl there had already been hit on by every American guy who just liked a girl with an accent. Yeah. So we were a nuisance in the town, because the kids who go, it's like everything else. Like, it's a really good school, say like Harvard. So you would think, oh, well, all the smartest kids go there. Kind of, but it's more like all the richest kids go there. Oh, yeah. So you have these like rich, old money English people who American kids abroad for a year are of limited value to them. We don't have a whole lot to offer them. I was actually like legendary because I did take a British girl home from a bar one time. Really? I don't think we actually had sex, but like that in and of itself. And I hate that, that's what it's like when you're younger, that it was it was just kind of catch and release. I don't think I felt a genuine romantic connection with her. It was like, oh my God, an English girl is going to come back to the American guy's house.
I only hooked up with one British chick once. I take that back, two, but one was when we were in Edinburgh, me and Patrice and Voss, and we got into some party, and then she had gotten out of a wedding, and her boyfriend left her, and it was bad. But all she kept saying is, "I'm gonna die an old maid." The whole time we were hooking up, and I was like, "I think you need to leave." So did it affect? Do you find that there's certain travel experiences I find that change my DNA forever, and I can't fix it again. Right. Vietnam is that place for me. That Vietnam and Japan really fucked my DNA up. Where I went, okay, now I see the world differently forever. Like forever, I'll always see this world differently. Did that have that effect on you? And I know that traveling abroad at a young age does, but at that age, did it affect the way you looked at the world? Did you go over there and start smoking cigarettes and reading old leather-spined novels?
No. Very much the opposite. Because I was such an Anglophile, and because I still identified primarily as a musician, and because all my favorite bands were England, I thought that I was going to get there and possibly never come back. Yeah. And the way that my family said goodbye to me indicated that they thought this might be the last time they ever saw me on a regular basis. And instead I was like, really, I mean, disappointed. I didn't hate it, but I was like, oh, this is not this like magic other better world. It's just this. I'm from Manhattan, which is like, you know, that. No, it maybe only in the sense that I realized that I didn't have some magical other place to run off to.
Yeah.
You know? I think I almost got that more out of the first time you move away from home. It's like, you know, a fish won't be aware of water unless it ever makes it to the surface and is therefore not surrounded by it. I spent a couple of months in Santa Barbara. And I think that was like getting out of the East Coast and understanding not every place is exactly like where you're from, which you'd never get from just going somewhere on vacation.
Yeah.
I think that kind of popped that cherry with me. And I'd learned that lesson. You can go anywhere away from your house and learn that lesson.
Yeah.
You know, and I'd already done that by the time I got to England. So no, not really. Why do you say Japan? Because my wife is Japanese. I've spent a bunch of time over there.
Japan, the culture, the culture. We were at the big train station in Japan where we take the bullet train out to Kyoto, and no one was talking. No one was talking. It was rush hour, and no one was talking. And I thought, wow, like, and the way that culture was so uniform and so in check. They all kept themselves in check, and it really kind of. And I'm the definition of loud American. I'm the definition of loud American.
I might not disagree with you.
And so no one would. And so like, it's not like going to a sushi restaurant when everyone's like sake bombs like that, and none of that happened. And then I went from there directly to Vietnam, and Vietnam's the exact opposite. Not to draw too much analogy out of it, but if Japan is a society where everyone knows their personal space, Vietnam, everyone's got their fingers in your mouth. And it's like just right there, and it really was getting into the vibe of travel and experience and immersion and going, fuck it, I'm eating an egg sandwich out of a vendor who only has a hot dog cart, and they're making fried eggs underneath it with a sterno, and I can't promise those eggs are fresh, but I'm gonna fucking wolf it down and I'm gonna enjoy it. And if I get sick, I get fucking sick. But Japan's the exact opposite. It was like, so wait, your Burger King has squid burgers? Like, it really changed the way I perceive things. Yeah.
One thing about Japan and Japanese culture is I feel like in America, it's just so politically and as a big national community, it's just totally herding cats. There's no way we could get everybody on the same page with anything. And you can argue about like climate change or whatever, but if we ever said, look, man, we hired all these scientists and they just said, we got a longest shower you can possibly take is 5 minutes. Yeah. Look, man, I like a hot shower as much as the next guy, but that's what they said, and we hired them to tell us what to do, and that's what they told us to do, so that's what we're all going to do. No fucking way. Could you even do something which is pretty mild in terms of the climate change, the changes I think we probably really need to make to our lifestyles to counteract climate change. But Japan's the kind of place where they could say that and everybody would actually do it, even though nobody could check up on them for it. Because there's this sense of of this communal we that people are proud to be a part of, and they're proud to have a consensus on stuff like that. And there's trade-offs. You know, there's a lot of people feel very emotionally repressed and stuff because there's so much time and attention and energy spent fitting into a group there as opposed to developing yourself individually. Of course, there's trade-offs.
Is your wife from Japan?
Yeah.
Oh, she's from where in Japan?
A city called Fukuoka.
Okay, I don't know where it is.
It's a big city.
Yeah, there's a lot more of Japan than I ever thought there was. This sounds silly, but I thought it was a tiny little island. Mm-hmm. It's a series of fucking islands, and I didn't understand just how vast and how globally different parts of Japan are. And I think I always say if you get one opportunity to go out and travel, you gotta hit Asia. Asia changes the way you look at the world. It really does.
Yeah.
No, wait. So you get done college and then you go straight to the Santa Barbara and then back to the East Village.
No. Okay. Wait. So
because I want to draw the line of like because let me tell you the things that fascinate me about you.
Okay.
About you is you wrote both of Jason's books.
Yes.
You wrote the movie Woodsman, which I watched last night. Which hold on, no, don't even fucking start this like putting it down. You guys came up with an idea on the show. You wrote the script, I think, in an evening.
Yes.
Like after a couple.
Well, but yeah. Wow, you really did some homework.
No.
I don't even know where this homework would be available.
I don't ever research fucking anybody. But after I first met you, the first time I did radio with you, I went, okay. I literally, your show is not. It's not the average show. It is just, and I'm certain you guys are a publicist's nightmare. Like, there's no way the publicists just go, yeah, you can roll in. It's going to be a cake interview. You guys are fucking ball busters, like a group of friends at a Jesuit table at lunch.
Did you feel under attack at all? Have you ever felt under attack in there?
Of course, but not in a bad way.
Just be honest.
I just was, yeah, of course, yeah.
All right.
Yeah, of course, but not in a bad way.
Right.
Like, like I said, Jason and I have actually talked about this. I never once felt like anyone's being a dick to me, but I never once felt like a stern interview. It felt like this is not, where I'm not going to patty cake you. Tell me about your book. It must be fun being on Travel Channel. See, you got involved with the Russian mafia? Get out. Who counts? So Van Wilder's like, that was not that interview. It was like, hey, we're out to dinner. We're going to talk. And I would like to have some answers. Like, it was like I'm just saying.
I don't know who actually goes to dinner like that.
I do. I definitely do.
Listen, we're going to break bread and everything, but more importantly, I need some answers.
I mean, wouldn't you agree? I'm sure you guys have had, you guys have had legendary bad interviews with people.
There have been a couple. If you do hundreds of them, a couple.
Yeah, but even like okay, me falling off, like the perfect example. And by the way, Jason and I have actually texted about this.
Right.
I've never once felt like you guys treated me like a dick ever, or I just simply wouldn't continue the relationship. If I wasn't happy, I just would be like, I'll pass. When you guys offered me to come back on the show, I was like, fucking 100%, I'll be there.
Cool.
But like when I showed the falling off the rock video. By the way, for regular, like, I'm just telling terrestrial radio, they'd be like, oh, that, because no one can see it.
Right.
Oh, that looks horrible. Right. That's not your show. It's that doesn't look that fucking bad. and then, but that, for me, that is funny radio. Like, that's funny, is then now we're all going back and forth, and I get to take the stance of, you have no idea what I've been through. And you guys are like, well, Tony Hawk should know. He rolls in. Great fucking moment. I mean, honestly, I know it because I heard it on Twitter. It was fucking epic.
It was great. And it's hilarious because I can't think of a better good cop for that situation. If you'd picked anyone in the universe, because, Jason is Jason. If he goes, oh, that wouldn't hurt. That's no big deal. He might be being, that might be bluster. That might be a bit of a bluff. Who knows, But when Tony Hawk goes, yeah, that shouldn't really hurt. You can't get mad at Tony Hawk for that.
Yeah.
No, for what it's worth. I mean, I probably would have been a recovering Vicodin addict like yourself if that had happened to me. 100%. But sometimes once the joke gets established, there's no sense in me. We're not having a reasonable, rational conversation. We're having.
And what's the point? I mean, like, by the way, the shows I like doing are that it's a hang with guys. Just like I feel like I'm at my fraternity house or at a lunch table when I was in high school. It is real. It is ball busting. It is. It's not Regis and Kelly.
Well, right. And I don't think this is something that I remember the exact moment that I learned this. When I was a kid, we all made fun of each other, and that was just like a total normal course of action. Maybe it's not limited to the East Coast, but I don't think that is everywhere.
Definitely East Coast.
And I just thought it went without saying that if we're giving you a hard time, you could tell if somebody's actually being a dick. But if we just won't leave you alone and we just keep needling you, that actually means that we like you.
Yes.
And I wouldn't risk doing it to somebody I actually disliked because I would be afraid that I would be betraying my actual legitimate dislike for them. Yeah. And I remember my friend had, also from the East Coast years ago, had a girlfriend who was from somewhere in Central California, and we made her cry. And I couldn't understand why she was crying when all we were doing was welcoming her into the fold and embracing her with our insults.
Don't you understand that we hate you? We're showing you we hate you so that you know we love you.
Yeah.
No, but that's the good shows, the good radio shows out there are that. They are guys who do not. I mean, I'd say the defunct Opie and Anthony was a great show. I mean, I'm sure you grew up on the East Coast. You probably heard them growing up. Or you probably didn't because you were listening to different fucking music.
Almost never.
Yeah.
Did you listen to Stern? No.
You didn't listen to any radio growing up?
No.
Yeah.
And the high school thing is actually pretty critical to that. I didn't get my driver's license until I moved to LA.
Really?
Yeah, because I was on the bus and the subway when other kids were getting their first car and therefore listening to Stern in the morning or Opie and Anthony afternoon. I mean, I heard it. I had friends who listened to it and stuff, but the whole thing, I feel like I could count on one hand the number of times I listened to either of them.
Yeah, I didn't listen to them until I was like fucking 32. Until they got on XM. XM really changed the way I listen to shit.
Right.
Like I like it because it's unfiltered. It's crazy. I feel like anything could happen. But one more thing before I go back to saying what I was initially saying was that like just like them, just like Stern, just like you guys, my buddy Cal, Elliot, all these good shows, you're hanging out with a peer who is not going to allow you just some publicist's fucking Ron Bennington, some publicist's bullet points. That is not your show. And I hope you understand that I think that's a compliment. That you're not looking at a bullet point from what you just, a fact you got, and you're like, so this happened, that happened, that happened, that happened. It was fantastic having you in. Thank you very much.
Oh, yeah, of course.
But so I got done the show. I had a good time. I go, dude, like I talked to Jason. Jason and I got along pretty good. Like, but I think I met him before, maybe I hadn't. But like, I was like, I go, fucking Mike Tully, I gotta do some fucking research. Who is that guy? Because like me and you were going back and forth good, and then you were like, so tell me like questions no one ever fucking asked me. Tell me how the fucking National Lampoon thing happened.
Nobody asks you that?
No, I also don't answer it. I very seldomly answer it.
Oh, okay.
Like a lot of times I'll just be like, I'll give them a very short answer.
Right.
And then in that one I just ended up talking about it. I never talk about it.
Yeah.
So then I go on and I have Jason's book. It's in that cabinet right there, or it's underneath here. It might be one of the two. And it says written by Mike Tully. And I went, that's Tully.
Right.
I go, motherfucker. And I read both Jason's books.
Cool.
I read most of both of Jason's books. I'm a little dyslexic. So, and I went, oh, fuck. So then I go and I start watching videos and I hear your commentary on like, and once again, your show is, the Jason Ellis Show is not the normal show. I'm watching you guys ultimate fight Brendan Schaub. Like there's a fucking mixed martial arts fight going on in the studio.
A legitimate UFC.
A legitimate fucking fight. Not like, and I'm like, okay. And your commentary is hilarious. And I'm like, God damn it. So I start looking and then I go into some of Jason's younger skateboarding videos. I just, sitting in a man cave drinking, watching online.
Right.
And then I see this interview you did about the Woodsman. I start watching the Woodsman. And then I realized you just wrote it in a night. And you're like, and then I start going, you took a sabbatical to write screenplays. I was like, okay, all right, fuck. This is like, I knew you weren't a stand-up, but I was like, I didn't think I understood your path or how you got there. So I was like, okay, so, and that's what I was dying to ask you. So I don't want to turn into a Barbara Walters, but like, you go to.
Okay, it's real simple because I don't have a path. I mean, if I had to do all over again, I would have like picked some pie in the sky scenario and then what do they say? Built my ladder up to it.
Yeah.
But I finished high school, and again, this is like kids go to Harvard and Yale, and it's like just churn out kids that go to Ivy League schools. I was the first kid in 20 years that got in off the waiting list, and I was the first kid in I don't know how many years who didn't go straight into college because I was going to be a rock star / I have no idea what the fuck I'm doing here.
Yeah.
And actually my band had enough success that a guy, this really, picture a British record producer who'd like worked with the Kinks and stuff like that and wore black suits all the time, and you are picturing the guy who discovered us.
Yeah.
He booked out a recording studio for a weekend, and it was this big stunt where like for 72 straight hours bands could come in and get an hour of free time to make a live recording in a really like world-class new studio. And the local New York, the Channel 9 News covered it, and they filmed us, and we won the thing. And so we went from being this band that was just like rehearsing and smoking doobies to a band that was still rehearsing and smoking doobies, but now had a guy who'd produced the Kinks behind us.
Yeah.
And so when I finished high school, I was like, well, fuck this. My band's about to take off, you know, and it just didn't happen. And it's so funny. I mean, it's actually kind of a movie moment. We didn't know how it worked. We thought we were definitely living in the fantasy world of like, you do the big gig and you get the big contract. And the reality is, even in the 90s, you just claw and scrape and you move up 5 fans at a time. But we just didn't realize that. We were teenagers, you know? And so we did the big showcase and they told us, this is your show. This is it.
Where's it at?
It was at Don Hills. Okay. In New York City, you know, a pretty cool venue. It was very cool at the time. This is when like Motherfucker was going on and all that there. And they told us Island Records is going to be here and CBS. And, you know, you get up on stage, you just see silhouettes. We're kids. We're 17, 18, whatever the hell we were. And we're like, we need to play the show of our lives. And we're going to get a fucking record deal.
No booze, no drugs before it?
Probably had a beer or something like that. And a guy from our management team, and like this guy used to work with Skid Row, and I'm like an old metalhead. Like he brought Dave the Snake Sabo from Skid Row to one of our shows, and he's like, "Hey guys, not too bad." And we're like, "Oh my god, the Snake likes us!" You know.
I smoked pot with Sebastian Bach and the kid from New Kids on the Block one time. It was random. I'm sorry.
Yeah. So they just said, okay, the dressing room is downstairs. They said, do your show. And then wait down here, and if any of the labels want to sign you, they'll come down here and we'll introduce you to them. So we're like, this is it, guys. This is, you know, like fucking head-on-head 4-way huddle. This is what we've been working for our entire lives, you know? And we went out, and we played the greatest show we ever played in our entire lives.
Yeah.
And then we walked back downstairs to the dressing room, and we sat there, and we sat there, and we sat there, and finally somebody's assistant came down, and they go, you guys want to come upstairs? And we're like, we're waiting down here for the labels to come down and make us rock stars. And he goes, oh, that's not the way it works. You know, they came and they saw you tonight, and maybe they're a little interested, and maybe they call us on Monday, and maybe we do it. And that was the story, and that was the beginning of lots and lots of great stories from British manager guy who everything sounded great. There's a hilarious story of the time that we hit him up for $1,000 so we could buy silver leather pants. And he gave it to us, but he wrote like a child. And I remember me and my bandmate, who's Brian Cullen, who now works with me on Faction, the channel on Sirius XM that the Ellis Show is on. Me and him went to a bank, and we're these like scumbag kids with a check for $1,000 that in the memo says for band clothes. And they held us up for like 2 hours actually giving us the money for the check. So anyway, we did that, and it just turned out that the guy was all talk and didn't have a lot to offer us in terms of, you know, signing with record labels and stuff like that. So we broke up to spite him, but he like owned contracts on us, and he's like, you guys won't break up because I know you guys, you can't quit. And I'm the only way you can keep going. And we were like, fuck you. We're that spiteful. So we just broke up. Yeah. And now I was high and dry. So then I was like, okay, I guess I'll go to college. So I went to Fordham, I went to Oxford. After college, still didn't have a plan. Still vaguely thought I was a musician, but I wasn't really gigging. I was like writing songs and recording them with my friends.
What instrument did you play?
I was like a singer, songwriter, guitar player. I made an album. Like, actually, the stuff that I was writing
Can you play
around
one of your songs here?
Yeah.
Okay. Wait,
absolutely.
Finish the story.
Yeah. So
I'm so sorry. I'm a bad interviewer. Like, but have you ever written a script about this experience that you had? Okay.
I don't think there's a movie.
Are you thinking about writing a book about you at all?
Not particularly. Okay. I think there's only really 2 reasons to, like, I think I have a more interesting life story than a lot of people, but
it's like the Wu-Tang Clan. It's not what you're saying, it's how you say it a lot of times.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, like, you know, you're a fantastic writer. I mean, much better than I am, and I have a fucking book about me. And my life's interesting, but I really wish I had had a you in my life to fucking tell my story. Because, like, Jason's life is fucking fascinating. Mm-hmm. Really genuinely fascinating. Mm-hmm. The mesh of you two, it really is a fantastic partnership.
Thank you. I agree. And I think I was really uniquely well situated to write that book, having been having
100%.
a conversation with him about his life for like 5 years leading up to that.
Yeah.
Nobody else could have done that book. Like
No
I
one
could have,
could've.
and that's not a slight on any other writer on the planet. Nobody had the running start. When we were doing the book, because I know I've worked on books with other people, and I don't know their story. And you get halfway through, and they go, "Well, I mean, sure, that's when I was living in the lesbian colony on the island of Cyprus." And I'm like, "Well, this is the first time hearing of the lesbian colony that you used to live in." With Jason, it was more like, "Give me the this story, give me the this story." The hardest thing to figure out, and he wasn't even always sure of it himself, was just the chronology.
Yeah.
We had all the stories. It was just actually in what order did they happen. So anyway,
That book's so well written, I thought he wrote it. If that's
he did.
No, but I mean, you did
I didn't. No, I didn't.
A fantastic job in his voice, because it's his voice, it's his sound.
Well, but that's because but how do you think that happened? I didn't write any of it. All I did,
Right.
I made it my business to put as few of my words in it as I possibly could. And honestly, I have his voice in my head. I spent 20 hours a week talking to the guy with headphones on.
Yeah.
So even when I had to do a transition or something that he hadn't just given me in raw audio,
Yeah.
I know how he says stuff.
Yeah.
You know, so
Okay.
I feel like I'm proud of the job that I did assembling
Both of you are a great team.
and,
I will say that.
and editing. Thank you. But he wrote the book.
I have Jason on the podcast tomorrow morning, and I'm excited because both of you guys are really interesting people to have met at 42.
Mm-hmm.
Where I go like, I've been in the business. Where the fuck have these guys been this whole time? You guys are fascinating. You're a fascinating team. Your show's fantastic, and I enjoy watching you guys collaborate. It just seems like it's you guys are like a fucking punk rock version of Ben Affleck and Matt Damon. Like, does that make sense?
I could think of worse analogies.
Who would you analogize you and Jason like? You're not Ed and Norton or Ed and Ralph.
I don't know, like Batman and Alfred.
Batman and Alfred.
Like he's just like
Batman and Alfred is a great analogy.
like he's just the guy that goes out and like kicks
everyone
ass.
said Batman and Robin, but you said Batman and Alfred.
I resent that, and I used to resent that because people, again, I'm so not a radio person. People would say, "Oh, you're Jason's Robin," and I thought they meant Batman, and I'd be offended, and not realizing that, of course, they meant Robin
Quivers.
I used to take great offense at that. I never told anybody that. And I was like, my wife actually was like, they mean her. And I was like, oh, well, that's a rough analogy.
Okay, let's get back.
Yeah,
I'm so bad at this. There's a million things I want to talk to, and I know you got to go to work.
No, and I actually have a bunch of things I want to ask you, but we'll see what we can get to. So, finished college, wrote a bunch of songs, didn't do anything with them, ended up making an album about 3 years ago of all the songs I was working on back then, which is just awesome in this day and age. You can sit in somebody's bedroom. And
this isn't Taint Stick.
No, this is me solo. And then I was like waiting tables, and Rough Time September 11th happened in New York, and it was very, very hard even to get a waitering gig for a while. So that, I guess if you're writing the screenplay, that's the darkness before the dawn. Again, a terrible movie script. I couldn't get a waitering gig. And then my buddy that I had been in the band with, Brian, who now works with me on Sirius XM, was a longtime Howard Stern fan and had parlayed an internship on Stern into a job with the big syndicator Premier Radio Networks.
Okay.
He knew a guy there that was producing a syndicated daily hour-long show with Carson Daly, and that guy needed a writer, so Brian was a cheerleader for me to get me to write, to submit a script, and I got hired writing this terrible, disposable, syndicated daily show for Carson Daly. And then when that dried up, Brian had by then moved on to Sirius, and the channel he's working on, Faction, needed a guy, so he brought me over there as well. And then I was working for Faction in New York, and they said, well, we're opening this LA office. Do you want to go work out there and pretty much just go make yourself useful? So I went to LA and I moved out here 10 years ago. And in making myself useful, there was Jason Ellis, who at that point was on live 3 nights a week, just alone in a room. We would say, okay, see you later, Ellis, and go home. And he was just there, and he was brilliant with just taking callers and saying shit off the top of his head. He'd been like bursting internally. He didn't even realize he had so many things he wanted to say that he wanted people to listen to that had been welling up in him for his entire life. And now he could just hit a microphone and people would call in and be like, that's hilarious. Or Ellis, what do you think about this? And so, my mandate was to make myself useful. And it was like, well, the way to make myself useful is to try to give this guy a hand, because this is far and away the most exciting thing that's happened.
Now, how did you hear about him through?
Well, before I started working on the channel, my buddy Brian was trying to bring me on. So he was saying, check out, because Jason came from Tony Hawk, had and still has a radio show on our channel. He'd be saying, listen to this Australian guy on Tony Hawk's show, and isn't he so funny? And then I remember him saying, yeah, they might give that guy his own show, and hearing the air check and the line I've quoted a million times, they just wanted him to be a DJ at first. So he came out of a Danzig song and he said, Glenn Danzig is a Satan-worshipping midget. And it's not, I can't even do it justice because his delivery is at least half of the fun, you know?
I remember picking him up. And listening to him on a long car ride and thinking, oh, this is badass. I don't know why I thought this, but I thought this guy is out of his house up in Calabasas where he has like a moto park and he's just doing it out of his house. Oh, how fucking badass is this?
I can see that. The last studio sounded like we were broadcasting out of a house in Calabasas, so you could be forgiven for thinking that.
But it's you know, sometimes it's that under dialogue that you draw into stories where you're like, oh fuck yeah, this is real. Like they're not in a studio; they're just doing this out of a fucking bedroom.
Yeah. It still kind of feels like
I was a little bummed out. I got to be honest with you. I was a little bummed out when I first did the show and they gave me directions and I went, are we going to Fitzsimmons' place where Fitzsimmons does his? And I was like, oh, it's a fucking studio? I was like, man, I thought I was going to Calabasas.
You just missed our studio until 2 years ago was in a band rehearsal space in West Hollywood.
Really?
And Jason always says that we were broadcasting in the bathroom, which is not exactly true. In the back, there was a creative space, which before us was Tim Burton's creative space. So I think before he was really, really Tim Burton.
No, but still, that's the...
there's worse places on
Earth. It's the DNA imprint left on the walls.
Yeah, I always thought that was kind of cool. But there was a big bathroom in there that functioned as our kitchenette. So there was a fridge right next to the toilet. We called it the bitchin'. And it was really, really, really grimy. And like if it rained, the radio, we couldn't broadcast. What you thought it was when you heard is exactly what it was. One of the things I did, you know, I tried to help Jason get guests. I just tried to pitch in however I could. And it wasn't like I had any contacts or skill or anything like that. We were right by, you know, there's the Benito's taco stand, which was like, it's on Santa Monica. This is probably where Eddie Murphy picked, you know, just the epicenter of transsexual Los Angeles.
Yeah.
And just like one night, I took $20 and walked over and paid trannies to come and be guests on the show. Like that's what was going on. So what you thought it was is exactly what it was. We have a nice studio now, and we're all like pushing 40. I make no apologies for having central air now. But we did our time in exactly what you think.
Yeah, you have to have the show in there. However, the romantic time of of Guns N' Roses practicing in a fucking in a rental space,
right,
is like, that's what you're like. I want to meet them when they're all street kids.
That's true. Right. And I would definitely further the band analogy of the garage days are everybody's favorite days, but excuse me, find me the band that had a lot of buzz that never quite got out of playing the clubs, and I guarantee you it doesn't have the romance for them that it does for you.
No, the show's much better. You know, it's so funny that I don't know if I told you this, but the people who like your show are all closet people who like your show that you guys don't even know.
Really?
Yeah. Ian Gomez. Ian Gomez is married to Nia Vardalos, who wrote My Big Queer Wedding. Ian Gomez loves the show.
I don't know who he is.
Exactly, and he's on Cougar Town. He's one of the bigger actors working in the city.
Oh, really?
And he's like, he fucking texts me. He's like, dude, you're on fucking Ellis? Why didn't you tell me?
Oh, no way.
And I'm like, yeah. And he was like, and I was like, oh, in my head, I'm like, you should totally. I figured he just done it a bunch, but like,
bring him on by.
Yeah, I'll send over the. So, how soon? What was it like taking the year off to write scripts?
Well, I never really got out as much as I thought that I would. I think, well, for one thing, we pretty much immediately went from, we did the band Taint Stick, which renamed ourselves Death, Death, Die, and to the listener isn't really that different, but on the back end, Taint Stick was on like a legitimate record label, so we just submitted the album and it came out one day. Death, Death, Die we released ourselves, and I primarily released it, so a large part of that year, and then we had like just Murphy's Law of distribution and stuff like that. excuse me. So I spent a decent portion of that year like licking stamps and packing CDs for the band
Really?
Death Death Die out of my house. So I was still very, and like we made the Woodsman movie. I was still very tied into.
So you're still dialed in the Matrix.
Yeah. And I used to go by there and like do an hour, a week or something like that. And I think it was like I'd gotten used to doing radio, and to the extent that I'm good at doing radio, I'd gotten good at doing radio, and it was just like a relief to. I was spending the rest of my hours trying to like learn a craft. It's a hard thing to do.
Yeah.
It's very much an uphill climb, and it's like solitary, and I'm a very like verbal person, so I just think more and more I'd be like, oh, you guys need a guest, or you guys need somebody to help you with the game on the air, I'll come by, because it was just so easy and it was rewarding. And then people get on your Twitter and they go, hey man, great to hear you again, as opposed to just being in your pit working on your screenplay.
You guys do have somewhat of a indie band vibe with the way you do everything. The Woodsman, Taint Stick, Death Death Die, the fucking Ellis Mania, like all these things are these almost like grassroots art projects, be it mashed up with fucking MMA or skateboarding or punk rock or metal or radio or movies. And it's so interesting. I always kind of go like, how the fuck, like, how do you like? I mean, do you guys? It's almost like you guys are like a Renaissance production company.
Yeah, or we're like a collective that just only has like 4 people in it.
Yeah,
they could use a much bigger collection. The Woodsman in particular. I mean, I would, if anybody doesn't know what we're talking about, just check out a minute of it. That's all.
I'm gonna analogize it. Yeah. I'm gonna logline it. It is scary movie meets Sharknado.
Yeah, that's fair. So, I mean, the premise of it, which we came up with on the radio, is the typical teens go into the woods for the weekend for camping and drugs and sex and stuff, and the deranged psycho starts picking them off one by one. The difference here is Jason's Australian, so they go into the bush, and he's this deranged psychopath with a perpetual erection, hence the name The Woodsman. and that was like the most DIY thing. I mean, not that there was a whole lot of Hollywood magic going on that you couldn't pick this out for yourself, but there are scenes where just the group of teens are walking along a road, and like the 2 porn stars that were supposed to be playing teens didn't show up that day, so just the group walking was filmed on separate days on separate paths. So here's half the group and here's the other half.
Production wise, I was like, they definitely should have gotten all the group shots that first day.
I mean, yeah, hindsight's 20/20.
The girl takes her top off. It's on YouTube. I'm watching it. And I'm like, oh my god, she's topless.
Oh, I never even thought about that. Joanna Angel, our great friend.
Yeah, and then the other question was the animals.
Oh yeah, because we're friendly. Yeah. Oh yeah. Because we're friendly with this guy called Donald Schultz, who does like nature shows on Discovery and Nat Geo and stuff like that. And yeah, he absolutely has. He's South African. He has access to not because he's South African, but he has access to lizards and stuff like that. And we tried to rent a kangaroo, I think, and that was cost prohibitive. It is. I don't know if you noticed, the kangaroo is actually a guy in a suit.
Listen, I'll tell you what I liked about it, and this is, it's like, sometimes you do get lost in that clock's broken. Don't pay attention to that clock.
I keep looking at it, and it tells me nothing. I know.
It is funny. Just, I mean, obviously anyone who's might get lost in the production value and might go, the audio seems off at different things. No one clearly mixed it.
Sometimes people are looking at the camera when they talk.
Sometimes people are looking at the camera. but like, I mean, I laugh like and I just say this honestly, in the first 5 minutes, I definitely laughed out loud twice. Like when you're about to give the drugs and they're like, there's one way to get these, and the girl's about to blow you and the guy goes, fuck that, and then he starts blowing you. Like that, I laughed out loud. But that is something I go back to one of my old managers said is funny no matter if it's shot on a cell phone or on a fucking movie film. Is like something that's funny is funny. And it seemed like that you were a bunch of people having a good time with the movie, and all I could think when I was doing that, all I could think when I was watching that was, you guys should make a fucking 13-part campy sitcom Like, just really take the idea of a sitcom, turn it on its head, and do it the way you did that, and release it weekly and weekly and weekly. Because it seemed like, honestly, it seems like you have the brain that is effortless too, if that makes sense. A lot of people have good ideas. A lot of people are funny. Very few people can execute good ideas and funny and make it. Does that make sense?
Sure. I mean, I think execution is a critical part, like to the extent to which we have a signature style or hallmarks of what we do. The band and the movies that we've made and even the radio show a lot of the time, I think what they have in common is we will take the briefest flash of inspiration. We will, if we have one quick dumb idea that we're like, that's funny, we're willing to put like days and weeks and months into doing the most professional. And I know the Woodsman isn't professional, but we still had to go out.
It's real. Oh, it's professional because I know what it takes to even make that.
We still had to drive 90 minutes and scout locations to do that. We will take the guy's killing all the teenagers, but he has a boner. He's called the Woodsman. Yeah. We're willing to harass our friends to come out, and we did and realize the thing, and we did a movie theater screening of that.
I know. It
amazing.
was at Lemley.
Yeah. It was incredible. I mean, not like a huge movie screen.
Yeah, I've watched movies there. It's right next to Crunch.
Yeah.
I'm well aware. All right. You need to be out at 11, correct?
Yeah, I guess so.
Okay. Let's. If you said you wanted to ask me some questions, I'm gonna. As you do that, I'm gonna pull up all the analogies, and then we'll go through and we'll try to analogize the best.
Okay. Well,
and then I'd love to hear you play a song.
Oh, do you want to do that, or do you want to just tack one of my songs, like the actual real MP3, onto the end of?
Oh, do you want to just do that?
Yeah, that'd be better.
Let's do that. That would be so much better.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah. Awesome.
Let me ask you one. There's a lot of things I would ask you about, but I was listening to your podcast the other day, and you introduced the concept of intrusive thought.
Yeah.
I think I might have a touch of that, but I'm not sure.
If you're good, you do.
What's that all about? So intrusive thought, I mean, I guess, correct me if I'm wrong, it's kind of what it sounds like, is you will just be in a situation and your imagination will run wild and you will just think of like the most fucked up, horrific, weird, crazy, whatever thing that could happen right now. Yeah. And because it's so wrong, the thought won't leave you alone. Is that a fair definition?
It's fair. I would say it's not a train of thought. It's more like it just shows the fuck up, and it's just like it's something that it is the worst thought you could ever have in the world. Like I'll give you a perfect example of a very benign one. There was a comic, I want to say it was Pete Holmes, but I'm not certain who it was. That was when I started in the Boston Comedy Club, I worked the door and I got a deal like 6 months in, and I moved to LA and started doing like fucking really legit shit. And so I came back to the Boston Comedy Club like during that year, and then now fucking 6 kids were barking. They were all out front and they all wanted to get deals. And so I do my show. I ended up shirtless. I ended up in the corner. And I'm sitting in the corner, and this young kid comes back. I always want to say it's Pete Holmes, but he sits down next to me and he says, "Hey, I just want to let you know you are a huge inspiration to us. You know, I never would have thought about barking, and now you made that an opportunity. I was just doing open mics." And he's telling me this thing, and my head just goes, "Kiss him on the lips." And I'm not gay at all.
No.
My brain goes, "Kiss him on the lips."
That's the one that I have.
Yeah.
That's the one that I have numerous times.
If I'm comfortable with you, I'll share my intrusive thoughts.
Okay.
Like, meaning like, if I'm comfortable with you, I'll share my intrusive thoughts. Mm-hmm. Like I did it to my buddy. And Patrice O'Neill used to have a great joke about intrusive thought. Patrice's joke was, I was sitting at a party and this woman sat a baby. And he thought to himself, "Wonder how easy I could kill that baby." And then the woman said to him, "Why don't you hold it? I want you to hold it." And he goes, and his brain's going, "Now the bitch doesn't even want the baby. She doesn't even want it. I should just fucking punt it. I should just punt the fucking baby, throw it on the ground. Just what would happen in this room if I just threw this baby in the ground?"
Yeah.
That's intrusive thought. It just shows up out of nowhere.
Well, and you know what? I've thought about how easily I could kill infants, and I used to constantly, I remember many times when I was in school, if a teacher was having a really serious one-on-one conversation, I would think if I just leaned in and tried to mouth kiss them right now, that would be the wildest thing ever. Again, not that I had any sexual interest in doing that. And it's funny that you say, how would everybody react to that? Because that to me has always been a hallmark of that is what would be the fallout if I was the guy who, when Mr. So-and-so is talking to me about my project, everyone knows I just forced my tongue down his throat. When I was a little kid, even grew up in a church-going family, used to always think, what if I just bum rushed the altar and knocked the priest off and said, doesn't everybody realize this is a load of horse shit, you know?
Yeah.
And I don't even know how I had arrived at these like agnostic or atheistic feelings, and I don't think I really felt that way. It was just, where would the room go from there?
Yeah.
How could the room ever recover from me having done that?
I think it's. I honestly, I kind of say it's brilliant brains that get them and don't act on them, but brilliant brains that get them and then analyze them. I know that Maria Bamford has it pretty aggressively, and Patrice is the first time I ever heard someone talk about it, and I was like, oh, fuck, I got that. I've had that my whole fucking life.
Right.
Like, just awkwardness, like being in the car with your parents and just like, I mean, I can't even say it out loud, but like things that your brain just says, and you're like, why would you fucking say that? Aren't we on the same team?
Right.
Like, I was making love to my wife, I say this on stage, and this voice in my head goes, rip her ears off. And I'm like, whoa. And he's like, just do it. See if you can do it. And you're like, I fucking...
Right.
So, yeah.
But then obviously, you know, the how neuroses worsen and how you develop genuine complexes is you got to kind of go with it. To resist it and go, I got to stop thinking like that, or why would I think that, or what's wrong with me, or if I think that enough, does that mean that I actually really, 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 really want to do it?
Right.
You empower it, and that's when you can get into serious problems.
And just having the thought is nothing.
No.
It's just part of it. Maria Bamford
you need to become comfortable with the fact that you occasionally want to kill babies. Because you don't really want to kill babies.
I don't want to kill any babies. Did you have another question?
No, that's the only one
good.
I need to hit for now. Because you tweeted about analogies. And
I tweeted analogies. Did you get all the ones that everyone sent us?
Yeah, I did.
Did you have any favorite ones?
Let's see.
And by the way, this all starts off because the last time we were on the podcast, we were talking about putting fingers in chicks' asses, and I said, "Oh, I always did that in college. I was like my first move. I was like Lewis and Clark. My fingers were like Lewis and Clark, and my dick was Sacagawea. I forget what I said, and very casually you went. I think I was more like what did you say, Christopher Columbus, asking for a grant from the Queen before I went off exploring.
Right. Yeah, I had to go and genuflect before
it's so funny.
Queen Isabella and King Ferdinand before they'd give me the Nina, the Pinta, and the Santa Maria to get in there.
Your analogies are always going to be better than mine because you're smarter than I am. Because you fucking read and you know shit.
Well, let me tell you a couple of analogies that stand out to me that I've heard over the years. First of all, did you ever hear there's a famous sports thing that a number of coaches have had this quote attributed to them. A tie is like kissing your sister.
Yeah.
It's the worst analogy I've ever heard in my entire life. It suggests to me that people had a different relationship with their sisters in the 1940s and 50s. Kissing your sister.
I'm trying to search our names. A tie is not like kissing your sister.
No, that's
definitely losing.
That's a blowout loss.
That's a blowout loss. Wait, what is
that's a we need to shake up the roster in the offseason kind of loss.
What is a tie then? A tie is like kissing your sister. Oh, fuck, that's funny. A tie is definitely not like kissing your sister at all.
No.
Wait, what's a tie then?
Kissing a hot dude?
A tie's like making out with Brad Pitt at a party in a closet, and no one knows about it.
And you're just like, well, I mean, theoretically, this is a very impressive thing that I'm accomplishing.
I'm impressed that Brad Pitt likes me.
Yeah.
I know that now I have a good Brad Pitt story.
Yeah.
But I didn't really get any pleasure out of it.
And I thought you might have some reaction to this since you are a Jersey Shore guy. Drew Carey is the first person I heard this one from. I don't know if he made it up. Las Vegas is like going to sleep with a beautiful woman and waking up to find your wallet missing, while Atlantic City is like getting robbed by a crack addict.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
That's a good one. That's a really good one. I used to do the analogy of stand-up was starting stand-up in New York. Doing stand-up in New York is like working out. They're both like working out, New York and L.A. Doing stand-up in New York is like working out in the prison yard with the broomsticks and the pails filled with concrete, and you're just getting strong enough so you don't get assaulted in the shower. doing stand-up in LA is like working out at a crunch, and you have great abs and your pecs match your abs and you have legs, but you can't really defend yourself.
That sounds perfect. Having never spent a lot of time in comedy clubs in other places, I suspect you're spot on. So as for the ones that people sent us on Twitter,
the first time a girl farts in front of you.
The first time a girl farts in front of you is like finding out about self-employment tax. Hear me out. Because you're like, I mean, you have to have had some 1099 income to relate to this one, I think.
I can't fucking beat that. That's so fucking better. Anything I said is going to be so hackneyed. Like,
that's what it's like, though, right? Is you're just so excited that you did something and you made this big chunk of money, and you know that there's a downside to it. You know that that you're going to have to go and pay 25% or whatever on it, and then you go to your accountant and you go, yeah, so I made blah blah blah, and here's the 25, and they go, well, but what about the self-employment tax? And you're just like, well, nobody told me about that bit.
Yeah,
and it takes a lot of the fun out of the bit that you do get to keep.
Oh, fuck. It's a disservice to people that you're not doing stand-up. That is fucking hilarious. By the way, that's a bit. Right there, you could do that on stage.
Okay.
My chick farted in front of me the other day. Having a chick fart in front of you is kind of like learning about self-employment tax.
It sounds stand-uppy.
It's stand-uppy. Trust me, I do it for a living. Yeah, like, yeah, it's fucking that. By the way, if that is something, translate immediately to stage.
Okay.
I mean, I've always taken analogies and said, like, I had an analogy about my wife getting, dating a woman for a man is like you're this stallion on this mountain racing across the mountaintop. That's what a single man is. It's that power. No saddle, the rain washing through your coat. You can see the muscles through the coat of the animal, and the lightning strikes and you're rearing up. And then these women are these diseased settlers at the bottom of the mountain like, I need a horse. And so they fucking climb up with a bag of carrots, and carrots are blowjobs. And they give you a carrot, but they don't. It's the switch of the carrot versus the petting. And like, you don't even know you're being petting, and now you're getting petted, and now there's a saddle on you, and now they want you to run. But when you start running when they don't want you to, they pull back. And they're like, whoa, we can't do shots at a child's party. Like, those analogies are like something I do because they're more long-winded.
Yeah.
But like,
do you leave notes with these sort of sentiments under your wife's pillow?
Yeah. She knows how I feel. Okay, well, let's keep going. Have you read these yet?
Our love is like cholera. Yeah, I think I read the ones that had come up when you first tweeted about it.
Waking up after blackout drunk. Let me start because yours is going to be better than mine.
Okay.
Waking up like after blackout drunk is like an episode of Quantum Leap. You constantly are like, huh? What? What's Jimmy? Who's Jimmy? You got to figure out everything at the exact same instant. You're like, oh, okay, I'm in it. All right, cup of coffee. Let's start moving.
Yeah. To me, waking up after a blackout drunk is a little bit like being framed for murder. Because you know things have gone wrong, but you have absolutely no idea why. And you don't necessarily get all the pieces of what went wrong delivered to you in the most like linear fashion.
Yes.
It's just more like the position that you left your shoe on the floor is like, oh yeah, when I went home, I didn't go right to bed.
Yeah.
That's when I tried to shove my shoe up my ass or whatever you did.
Waking up like after blackout drunk is like getting thrust into a play you don't know the lines to. Like, you just literally, you walked into the play and you're like, okay, I see where everyone's standing. I know where I need to stand. Oh,
yeah.
So you must be who I'm married to.
Right. And this is not an analogy, but the bluff of, especially if, the other people you were partying with are right around, you all crash at the same house or whatever, of how would a person act if they hadn't done anything moronic last night?
Yeah.
Let me act like that on the odd chance that that's the case.
It's like being the gay cousin at Thanksgiving.
How's that?
Is that the gay cousin at Thanksgiving? Everyone knows he's gay, but he can't come out with it. So you have this like moment where you're like, I understand the way I'm dressed. That we all know what. No one's going to mention it, and that's the way you wait. That's the way you walking into the living room after a blackout drunk is like being the gay cousin at Thanksgiving.
Yeah. It's like, at some point somebody's going to pull you aside, like your uncle, and just be like,
"Hey, we know.
Hey, look, man. I just want to know. I don't hold it against you." And that's the best you're going to get.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
Let's see. What else do we have here?
I love creativity.
I love analogies. It's really, really hard to manufacture them, especially from Twitter. Like somebody put in, Taylor suggested trying to have sex when you have to shit. And I just said, that's like trying to get useful information or suggestions from Twitter.
Yeah.
I love Twitter, but it has a very specific and limited utility.
Trying to have sex when you have to shit is like, have you ever had two things in your hand and a backpack on one shoulder and it's about to fall off and you're just kind of balancing it and you know that if it falls off, everything's falling out of your fucking hands? That's what having sex when you have to shit's like.
Right. Okay. Which then therefore makes it a little bit like when it used to be on the Tonight Show, they'd have the plate spinners.
Yeah.
It's like having the one really wobbly plate at the one at the one end.
Yeah. It's like, and it's like being on a roller coaster that only goes 30 miles an hour. Like you can't really enjoy it.
That's really funny. Yeah, it's like driving an expensive sports car but never going above the speed limit.
It's like valet parking an expensive sports car. You're in it, but you can't have fun in it.
That's funny. I think you definitely get that one. That's exactly what it's like.
Okay.
I mean, I'm happy to say it's been a long time since I tried to have sex when I had to shit.
I'll just shit.
Yeah, that's one of the perks of marriage. Is...
by the way, I'll even make sure I've pissed. I'll be like, before we start, let me go piss. I'm just going to make sure. Because the real analogy is having sex when you have to piss.
Which is...
That's valet parking a sports car. That's valet parking a sports car.
Yeah,
because
agreed.
you cannot enjoy it, and you know there's going to be no payoff. Because the whole time you're like, I think I'm pissing in her. The heuristics, the stories of losing your virginity. How would you analogize your losing your virginity story?
Oh, okay. Well, I think, again, I heard you talking about this recently, and I think you and I had wildly different experiences.
Yours was good.
No, it wasn't good. So in that sense, not all that different. But I think I was self-conscious enough that I actually had like pretty crazy endurance.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah, the first time I had sex, I remember it was actually hard for me to finish. It probably took about 30 minutes.
So funny. My buddy Eddie said he faked it. He was like, oh, I just faked it.
I could see that. I could see that.
I was like, I wish. Fucking so whereas yours was a walk through Appalachia with no real payoff.
Yeah.
Mine was a hike up Runyon Canyon.
Right. Well, and mine was like
yours was Kilimanjaro.
Well, it was just more like, because at that point obviously I'd like jerked off a whole bunch, and now it was like, wow, this girl will have sex with me, but I don't know.
Did you jerk off before sex?
No, I didn't.
I wish I'd done that the first time.
I'm glad I didn't. I'd still be there, but it was more, I mean, this is a very crude and cruel thing to say, but it was more like jerking off with something that had feelings. And just being like, this is the thing I've been trying to do for the longest time, and now that I'm doing it, there's an actual human being attached to this that I don't totally really like.
Jerking off. You were jerking off with a hand that had feelings and judgment. Like that, jerking off with something that had feelings is so.
Yeah,
that's so funny. My first time, I accidentally put my dick under. I didn't even fuck her. It was between her butt cheek and the bed, and that's when I came.
Uh-huh.
And then I don't really talk about this much, but then I had to have sex with her after. I'd already compromised the integrity of the condom, and I had to then. Because I hadn't done anything, and she'd already said, "I'll have sex with you."
Right.
There I am, fucking the bed. So you had to,
and
then I had to go in. Now the
marinating in your own natural juices.
It was like It was like getting ready to go on a hike and jumping in the river and getting your socks all nice and wet before the hike. It was enjoyable. It was uncomfortable. It was messy.
I was just going to say like having sex with an Italian sub, but that works too.
It's like getting in the shower with all your clothes on and then going out in the rain.
Yeah. Oh wow. Yeah. Okay. I like that.
It really kind of scarred me for a little while.
Yeah, no, mine too. Mine bummed me out for a while.
Really?
Yeah.
Did you have sex with her again, or just that one time?
Oh yeah, like 5 more times.
Okay, someone says seeing cables your girlfriend forgot to flush. What are cables? Are we talking about
God.
shits?
Are all of these just about shit?
Yeah, I think they're all. Well, that's Twitter's.
Well, how different is that from the first time a girl farts in front of you?
It's
kind of self-employment tax all over again. It's just well, okay. I would actually compare that one to somebody just said straight up shitting yourself.
Oh, shitting yourself is like squirrel suit base jumping.
Okay.
It's a
yours is already better than mine. Go ahead.
A ton of risk that you don't realize until the one time you fuck it up and you're ruined. Like, because there's so many times that you like fart and you go, I think I'm gonna shit, and you just roll the dice on it.
Yeah.
There's so many times. Shitting your pants is like getting a DUI. You get away with it so much that you think you'll never get fucking caught. Perfect. And then one day you're like, I'm fucked.
Right, and there's nothing different about it. It's not like.
And by the way, I don't drink and drive, but
no, I know. Yeah. But it's not. But that was the time I went 10 miles per hour faster, or you did everything exactly the same, but it just wasn't your day. Yeah, I said. Hold on. Shitting yourself, much like your girlfriend's cabes, is like accidentally playing porn in public. And here's why. Like, just imagine if you were at a Starbucks or something and you had your laptop and somehow you accidentally...
Oh, that's a fucking great one.
Because everybody shits and everybody watches porn, but when you expose that side of yourself to the general public, particularly to strangers, you are the scourge of humanity.
When you pull up your computer on a fucking airplane...
Yeah.
That is the analogy. That's the analogy.
That's what shitting
That's
yourself.
the analogy. Shitting yourself is like...
You should have nothing... theoretically, you should have nothing to be ashamed of. We've all got porn on our computers. Yours happen to be on. Oh, ha, 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 ha. Yeah. Pretend you didn't see it. Make a little joke. Move on. But that doesn't mean that you're this, like, criminally deranged, compulsive masturbator.
It should be no reflection on your character. However, for the people that witnessed it, it's a reflection on your character.
Yeah. Yeah, shitting your pants in public means that you have this this corrupt black soul that needed to let a little bit out of your butt.
I shit my pants in front of a guy we were buying a refrigerator from in Best Buy, and I thought it was a fart, and I shit my pants. I'm with my kids and my wife, and I just happened, and I shit my pants. We got to leave. I got to go to the bathroom. And my wife's like, but this poor guy was not prepared for a guy to shit his pants while buying a fridge.
Nobody ever is.
And he was just like, oh my God. Like, I guess you guys are going home. And my wife's like, he'll be back. He's going to the bathroom. He does it a lot. I shit my pants a lot. I shit my pants probably more than the average person.
They loved you in Japan, huh?
Those toilets in Japan,
Pretty nice.
Absolutely was obsessed.
Yeah.
I want one in my house so bad. You have no fucking idea.
You can buy them.
I know, that's what they say. And then you just hook it up to the fucking water thing in your house. I'm going to buy one.
They're like $500.
My kids will be sitting on it all day long.
Yeah.
Fucking. Did you know why your fingers get pruned when they get wet?
No.
Because water is slippery. So it is your body's natural reaction to creating more area space for traction.
So why are our testicles on the outside?
To keep them at room temperature.
Why is that?
In case we want to serve them at a cocktail party.
Why do your balls need to be on the outside?
I don't know why.
Because for the body to make useful sperm, we make sperm at like 97 degrees or 96 degrees, not 98.6.
Really?
That's the reason why. But and I'm surprised you didn't know that. I feel like that's at least in my world on the Jason Ellis Show, that's just like common knowledge. But the follow-up question to that is, why could the body not evolve to make sperm? Like, of all the things that you talked about, the finger thing, and just procreation in general, that was the one last little bit that the body could not figure out, how to make sperm 1 degree warmer.
Yeah.
It suggests to me that man's desire to play with his nuts actually overrode evolution.
Like the body was like, we got this, and he's like, no, I'm gonna pull them down. They're a little too hard to get to where they're at.
Yeah, like the one genetic freaks, his went closer to the body, and the guy's like, no.
I remember
Everyone made fun of that guy for having a tiny scrotum. He was not able to procreate, and the guys with the big saggy balls prevailed once again.
I feel like I'm the only one that has this, but like I feel like there's like a scar from my asshole to my balls, like a line of skin.
Oh no, that's very common.
Yeah, but like, and then I remember I was with a girl, and I said, so crazy. What is that? And she goes, oh, that's where God sewed you up.
Jason says that all the time. It's the only other person I've heard say that.
And this girl, Kristen Maddox, said, that's where God sewed you up. And then I went, yeah, but God didn't need to sew anybody up. Which then I started like panicking. Was I born a hermaphrodite? Was I born with a vagina and they sewed it? Is that like the freak guy that's got one of these?
Yeah.
Like I'm like, and I think about that all the time.
Like when kids are born hermaphrodites, the doctor sends their parents home with the book.
Yeah.
So you're raising a hermaphrodite.
Yeah. And the doctor's like, don't worry, I see this a lot. It's a pussy below the dick. I'll take care of it.
You just tell him that's where God sewed him up like he's a teddy bear.
This is where God sewed you up.
Right.
You got to get out of here, right?
Yeah, there's a couple more of these, right? What is it like when people owe you money?
Oh,
that's a hard one.
It's like having a threesome with your wife. I don't lend money. I don't do it.
Yeah,
I won't lend people money. If I will give people money, I'll definitely give someone money, but I will not lend money. I remember the first time I was asked, I was like, nope, you're my friend. I can't do it because I'm going to always want that money back.
Gotcha. I mean, I would like to think that I can't remember the last time anybody asked me for money. We live in this credit age. I feel like this is like a Three's Company scenario of somebody owes you $20.
It's like being in an Archie Bunker's house. It doesn't happen anymore.
No, it doesn't happen anymore at all. Exactly. So yeah, I mean, I'd like to think that if I had the money and a friend needed it, that I would just like be like, well, my friends are pretty cool, and I wouldn't give you money if you weren't a dick. And so if you can't give it back to me yet, that's because, wow, things are pretty rough for you. And what's money really compared to life and friendship and all that? But I did think that how should I say this? A somewhat powerful Hollywood organization recently for about a year owed me like $500.
Really?
And I just I'm the kind of person, it's probably politically, it's just easier to just be like, that's cool, $500. I don't need $500. And I don't even necessarily need $500. But I was like, so where's my $500?
Yeah.
And it's like, you guys have it. Like every single person in this building has like in their pocket, like, just give me my $500. So that's a little bit like when your like older sibling or cousin holds the ball and makes you jump for it and pulls it away from you.
That is that
when
feeling.
somebody owes you money and they've got it. That's kind of what that's like.
It's almost like getting bullied. Like I don't mind if you fuck with me.
Yeah.
But like if you fuck with me and you make me feel like I'm less than a human being, that's when I get upset. Like anyone can fuck with me. I don't take offense to anything. Very hard to offend me. Very hard if there is humor or good natured behind anything, then I'm in.
Yeah.
I don't mind being the butt of a joke. I don't mind being mocked. I don't mind any of that. And I do that. I like, not to go back to radio, but like I do that on like my buddies, you guys, and like Cowhead, is one of my really good friends. Is one of my best friends. He lives in Tampa, or his name's Mike Tully, but like he goes on the show and he will definitely bully me. And we have gotten into fucking like outright, like people said, are you guys cool? We're always cool because we're real friends. Like, we will fuck with each other just like we would at dinner in front of a bunch of people. Like that's, I don't know. It's one of the things that I feel like I didn't reiterate that enough when I said that, like, when going on your show is fun, but like it's being held to the fire.
No,
it's fun.
I get it. I just.
Do you feel like people think that?
No, I don't. And that's the reason why I wanted to check is because I do trust my sense of those sorts of things, as everyone does, that you generally, for the most part, you can tell when you're offending people. But I am aware that in a vacuum, if you just tuned into the show for the first time and maybe, Bert says, hey, on my Twitter, check this out. And they don't know who the hell me and Jason are. And they're just like, why are they just relentlessly being an asshole to this guy? It's more because I didn't think that we did that, but I am aware that if you look at if we were to just get a stenographer to write it down, it might appear that we were badgering.
No, you didn't. I don't think you did.
Good.
What other ones were on there?
I think there's one more. Pea Soup on Twitter said, what are allergies like in an analogy? Have you ever had allergies?
Oh yeah, I have
Yeah,
allergies.
Me too.
Allergies, in my opinion, are like it's like I know the perfect example, but I can't. I know the perfect what I'm trying to say. I can't think of the perfect example. It's like for me, because my throat will hurt, and then I'll think, oh shit, I have cancer, and then I'll spin out, and then someone will say, oh, it's allergies, and you're like, oh shit, it's like finding out what that key unlocked, because like you don't realize you just never use that door, and then you open it and you're like, oh fuck, it's just that, like but they're annoying as shit. It's almost like it's like getting a blowjob when a woman has a snuffly nose, or it's like getting a blowjob with the TV on. It's like you can't ignore them, but you just try to go about your business.
Right, yeah, life must go on.
Yeah.
But they're a perpetual distraction. To me, allergies are like spending time with a toddler, particularly if it's like your kid and you're responsible for it. And vice versa. Toddlers are like allergies as well.
Toddlers are like allergies.
They're not that bad, but they are fucking relentless.
Dude, I'm being dead serious. If you don't get on stage, you've got 7 minutes right there. That's your first. I mean, and then when you just start doing that about your life, about when you really start putting in thought into what your life's like, the dialogue you'll have with the audience will be very seamless and very fucking hilarious.
Okay,
and I'm certain that you could probably write. You could write tonight. You could probably write 20 setup punches about your life. And then what will happen is those will all mature you into the next phase of your stand-up, which will be this more longer form stream of consciousness, what you do on radio, but heightened.
Okay.
I think you really should, man. You're one of the funnier guys I've ever been lucky enough to meet.
Wow.
At this age. And I'm being serious. Like, when you're younger, you meet guys that are funny and you're like, everyone's fucking funny. Then you're 42, you're like, nah, not everyone's funny. And there are a lot of people that try.
Yeah, maybe we were all just kind of finding each other.
Yeah. But when I mean, the first time I hung out with you, I thought you were funny, and I was like, and you were like a legit dude. You weren't like a fluff dude. I think that's probably shrapnel of hanging out with Jason. He's not a very fluff dude.
Right.
And so as soon as I
said, that's very true.
Yeah, he's not.
I'm like, I have like a 4-2 boxing record at this point. That's owing strictly to Ellis Manias and therefore owing Jason.
Yeah,
I'm a boxing veteran. Granted, I'm fighting other shitheads like myself.
Yeah.
But the experience of like going to the gym and then putting in your mouthpiece and touch gloves and go at it is something like I am somewhat jaded to at this point because of knowing him. So
you've been. Being a co-host on Ellis is like it's like going to war. It's like being dropped off on Omaha Beach, but you're with the guy that's the real man. Come on, we're going into the fucking water. Don't care how deep it is, we can swim. You're boxing tomorrow. You're gonna learn how to get tapped out. This is fucking baptism by fire.
Well, right, and it's a little bit like a mushroom trip if you've done lots and lots of drugs, because we are so freeform and we take so few breaks, and we have a plan, but we, don't always follow it. And even when we follow it, it's not necessarily the way that we planned to plan it.
Yeah.
We're here and we're going to do this for 4 hours, and we have absolutely no idea what that's actually going to look like. And that's like scary the first however many times, but we've done this before. Yeah. Somehow, some way, it's going to be 4 hours. I'll do it again today. I'll leave here and I'll run over there and we'll turn on mics, and I have no idea what we're going to talk about.
You guys are like a Bob Ross painting on acid.
And 4 hours later, we'll still be talking, and we'll have said some stuff that we, I don't know if it'll be entirely original, but we'll have said a whole bunch of stuff we've never said before, and we'll have no idea how we did it, and then we'll do it again the next day.
So, last 2 questions. Number one, where can everyone find that Jason Ellis Show? I know it's on Faction, but the thing that's fucked up, and I wish Sirius and XM could do this, is that I just listen to you guys on the app, on the phone. That's where I get all my streaming.
Yeah.
The app is fantastic. If you don't have the SiriusXM app, get it. Get a subscription, and that's the easiest way. It goes right into your car. Just get it on your phone. But what channel are you guys?
Okay, we're channel 41, and we're on from noon Eastern to 4 p.m. Pacific, which is 3 to 7 East Coast, Monday through Friday. Also, if you're listening on the app, this is really, really cool that Sirius did this. channel 713, which is obviously very far away from 41, but adjacent on the app is a Jason Ellis Show channel.
It's just
that
best
plays
ofs.
24 hours a day, 7 days a week, best ofs.
That's where I listen to you guys often and think, because I just type in Jason Ellis Show and that's what comes up.
Right. So that's really cool. But otherwise, we're on 4 hours every afternoon.
And then 5 years from now, 10 years from now, you're still doing the Ellis Show because that's a passion project. That's your Ben Stiller show. That's something that the real fans are attached to. What other projects would you like to do? Like, what other things would you like to have done? Like, would you like to have had under your belt? A screenplay, a book?
Yeah. Everybody has that one big screenplay idea, right? That, and you get nervous that someday you're going to hear that there's the movie coming out that's your big idea, and when are you going to get to it and all that. I'm like a really big dabbler, like I think it's really cool. I never planned to do radio, and this is like a terrible career plan. You should totally find one thing and go at it doggedly, and instead I wouldn't mind dabbling in a little bit of stand-up. I'm happy that I've co-written books, and maybe one day I would write one of my own. I would love to have gotten a movie written, sold, hopefully in a perfect world, made. I'd love to still be active in music. I have this thing right now. I wrote this song. I know you mentioned that you're an NXS fan.
Obsessed.
So you don't just give up on old bands just because they're not fashionable or whatever.
Not me.
One of my favorite bands that I listen to all the time, as much as any other band, is this 90s Australian alt pop group called Frente. Some people remember, some people won't. They had a couple of hits. I just wrote a song the other day, and I was like, oh my God, this is like the singer of the band. Her name is Angie Hart. I was like, this is her song. And I reached out to her on Twitter, and she's like, yeah, I don't know, maybe. So I just sent her a demo of the song, and I'm hoping that this woman, who's one of my favorite singers of all time, is going to record my song.
Dude, that's a genius idea.
10 year, but it wasn't the idea. I just was noodling with my guitar, hanging out with my kid, and I was just like, oh, that's a song. And I was like, oh, that's not a me song. That's a her song right there. And I would just love, I feel so fortunate. In my bathroom at home, I have, Taint Stick, our original band, was on the Billboard charts. And like, I have the framed, like, I did a thing that was on the Billboard chart, and we've had the radio show that's had its success, and the Ellis Manias has had its success, and the first book was a New York Times bestseller, and I haven't gotten around to framing that yet, but I have that, the Times, and man, if this singer that I'm a humongous fan of, it recorded one of my songs, and I just had that, like, as long as you can, probably the proudest day of my life was the first time I started making my entire living from creative work. Because when I started with Sirius, it was just like, well, if you sweep up at the end of the day, we'll let you play around on the radio as well. So when I started making my entire income from just being creative, and if I don't really know, I'll just, something else will come up and I'll do one of those, and something else will come up. And if 10 years from now, I could be like, man, I did a lot of different really weird stuff, and I made a living doing it.
It's like, hold on one second. I'm going to introduce you to a guy you may not know, or you probably do, but he's on my podcast list. His name is Brian Koppelman. Do you know who that is? Mm-mm. Brian Koppelman is the I got to do this because I just got introduced to his podcast. It's pretty fucking fantastic. He's an amazing interviewer. But hold on one second. Brian Koppelman, and you'll be impressed with who he is. Not impressed, but like, sorry, that sounded weird. But you'll be like, oh, shut the fuck up. So I know that he wrote the movie Rounders. Okay.
Mm-hmm, sure.
He wrote, I'm going to pull up his IMDb. He wrote the movie, here we go. I've clearly already looked at this. He wrote the movie Rounders, the movie The Illusionist, The Lucky Ones, Solitary Man. He also, started by booking Eddie Murphy as a comedy club act. Mm-hmm. He was also discovered the singer-songwriter Tracy Chapman. Uh-huh. He was the president. He worked for Giant Records. He worked as an A&R guy as Elektra and Giant and SBK and EMI. He then wrote the movie Rounders, the movie Knockaround Guys. He also did a movie recently. I forget, but he's a Renaissance man, and it's what you seem to have in you is a Renaissance-esque. The last question, I just thought of it. I'm going to let you go in a second. I swear to God. So you do an album, 10. You do an album. You write all the songs for your favorite 10 artists. Or 5 artists. Let's just say 5 artists. It's like an EP.
Oh, I've thought about doing this a million times.
What would be the songs? What would be the artists that you'd pick to write for?
Right. A lot of them would be people that you probably wouldn't have heard of.
Just say them because then people can Google them and get into their shit.
Angie Hart from Frente, and I'm so happy. I hope she says yes. I hope she
Everyone
wants to
hit
do
up
the song.
Angie Hart from Frente on Twitter and tell her
to do it. Yeah.
Tell her to do it. That would be so cool to hear. I mean, it's just such a genius fucking idea. No one does that. No one just sits and writes. Like mostly, you get a deal, you get a publishing deal where you write and then they submit it and then they put it on their album.
Yeah. Yeah. My favorite band of all time is there's this English band from the 90s nobody remembers called the Auteurs. The Auteur is the French word for author. Yeah. And I actually, on my album, I did a song that's just a straight up like... And it was the same thing. I'm not clever enough to. Maybe Prince could go, I'm going to write a Bruce Springsteen song and just come up with one. Yeah. To me, it's the other way around of like... As
you wrote it, you went, oh shit,
that's my God, that's totally that guy. I'm halfway there. I can't hide it. Let me just do it. You know, and if that guy would feel like recording that song.
What's his name? Let's see if he's on Twitter.
He's on Twitter as well. His name is Luke Haynes.
Guys, Luke Haynes. Haynes.
Hit him.
This is the EP we're going to create.
Okay, cool. Do you know what's funny? I didn't even think of this. I wrote a Bruce song. I woke up one morning, like a Badlands, The River era Bruce. I woke up one Sunday morning and I had a song. It's called, what the hell is it called? Say Goodnight to the Dark. Or Say Goodbye to the Dark. I forget, but I woke up and I had the whole thing. I mean, down to the Clarence Clemens sax part in my head. Yeah. I don't know why Bruce would be interested in some half-assed rehash of shit he did 30 years ago, but I've got that one ready to go if Bruce wants to.
I bet there's a Bruce cover band that would love to do it.
Yeah.
I bet there's a Bruce cover band that would love to fucking do it.
You're right.
Keep going. Oh, this is almost a genius idea as it in.
Yeah,
what if you wrote original songs and then had cover bands do them?
It's a lot more apt to happen than the original artist. So Marcy would be way up there.
Oh my God,
and we'll talk about Marcy some other time. I got to go. And then you know who else? The most underrated singer of all time, even though she is well regarded, Johnette Napolitano from Concrete Blonde.
Oh no, I didn't. Yeah, I've listened to Concrete Blonde.
Yeah, people familiar with the song Joey. That was kind of a hit.
Yeah.
She's devastating, and she's totally still got it. I've seen her playing in L.A. And by all accounts, she makes no effort to take care of her voice, and it's aged better than a lot of people who haven't take care of their voices. She's just an absolute force of nature. I've kind of got a song for her too. Now that we're talking about it.
Okay, so you guys heard all those. Please do me a favor. Put me, Tully, and might as well put Ellis in it. I'm having Ellis on the podcast tomorrow. I'll probably release these same week back to back, or maybe I'll space them out a week. But I really appreciate you doing this, man.
I'm so happy. I'd love to do it again.
Of course. Oh, of course. The conversations usually get... What I found is that like the introductory, the one's fine, but then the next time we talk, it's all about just whatever the shit we dig.
Talk about stuff. Yeah.
And so you can find him at Tully, Tully, on Twitter. Your Instagram's...
At Tullywood.
At Tullywood. And you can
I never post anything. I'm a very inoffensive follow on both, really.
I'm going to stop talking. You can hear him on Faction. He's on from, you heard it, noon to 4, 3 to 7 on the East Coast.
Yep.
On Sirius XM. Dude, I
real
appreciate
pleasure.
it. I had a blast.
Yeah, let's do it again sometime.
All right, guys. Sorry for the horrible audio. I'm up at Cave of the Winds. Where are we? Cave of the Winds? Cave of the Winds. And I'm posting this right now. And this is this song by Mike Tully, as promised. It's called Auto da Fe. The name of the album it's on is Retrofit. I hope you enjoy it. Thank you, Mike. I know you're listening to this. Wait a minute. Never mind. I hope you enjoy it. Thank you, Mike, for being my guest.
This episode was brought to you by The Machine.